Hey, the Son of the Road Haunts. Welcome back to another Spirit Halloween 2025 idea. Ooh, my throat is blasted because I just recorded the audio for this one. Because I do that a lot of times. It was kind of hard on the throat, but whatever. I'm here to present it. This was a weird one, because I drew it half in the summer and half recently. Because I finished it off recently, that led me to make more newer ones. But yeah, so that's neat. And I guess let's just get into him. So this here is Husky. As for the name, I realize now more and more that that's the name of a breed of dog. Not my intention. Bobby Kane informed me it's also the pant size for larger folks. Also not the intention. And I kind of envisioned Husky as like corn husks. And more specifically, something that would like shuck corn, or more specifically, shuck things like corn. And by things, I mean skin. I don't know. That's a weird connection. Really, my thought process for this guy was more so, I want to have a scarecrow. I want it to be named Husky. And so I just kind of ran with that. And I decided to throw together this guy. Who, he'd be this scarecrow, which is kind of a mixture of, like, your standard scarecrow and, like, a WTF Deathstalker Nightcrawler monster. So he's this weird, like, almost adjacent to Nightmare Harvester, almost. And the way he's, like, part scarecrow, part weird nightmare monster. In a way that I think would be really cool. And I could definitely see this being really creepy in, like, a farm display or, like, a cornfield. So, yeah, I think that would be pretty cool, just to see this guy be real. With his animation and audio and stuff, which I think they turned out pretty well. But yeah, as silly as it is, one of my inspirations for this guy was this one image you see on, like, r/boss fights, where it's this guy with these two really long tubes on his arms. And I just thought, that would actually make kind of a fun prop, with, like, really long arms that would, like, be reaching overhead and just be looming and tall. And I don't know, he's a concept that is a little hard to describe with my thought process, but overall, I just thought it would be neat, so I did it. So, Husky's height would be roughly 7'5". Now, that's a bit of a loose measurement, because I'm just talking about up to the arms. That would be about 7'5". Up to his head itself, it would be like 6 foot, maybe. And his arms could probably go even taller, like 8 feet or so, but I don't know. That feels about right. So he'd definitely be a very tall, imposing prop. But yeah, his body itself would just be like regular sized, pretty much. So, as for this guy's animation, his arms would just kind of go back and forward. Like just kind of not in sync, obviously. They'd be like one after the other, kind of like that. And his fingers would wiggle, which I just think, we don't see that a lot on animatronics. And especially because, as you can see here, he'd have really long fingers. That would just look pretty cool. And I think my general idea for this guy, for like a story or something, is that he was maybe like once a man or something. I don't know. Maybe once human, maybe just a creature, but somehow got turned into a scarecrow. And the idea is that you can hear his howls from like miles away. Which, speaking of howls, we'll get to that. But the idea is that he'd, like, hide on the edge of cornfields, so when people pass by, he'd, like, just be looming over them, and he'd reach out with his long fingers and just skin you right there, like you're a husk of corn. Which I think would be pretty damn cool as, like, a horror concept. So that's kind of the vibe I'm going for with his really long arms, and I think the animation would just kind of reflect that. And I feel like with that kind of animation, you could use this guy really neat. Like in a really cool circumstance. Granted, you'd probably need a pretty beefy motor to move like all of, his arms would probably be decently heavy. But that's not my problem to worry about, so oh well. Now this guy would also have a fog feature, as you can see in the drawing here. He'd have like a very big mouth, obviously, but it would kind of split up his head. And in the drawing, the fog kind of got in the way, but it would be like almost stitched up and stuff. And so he just have fog coming through, like, gently. And if you pay attention to the drawing, he'd have, like, black streaks of liquid at the bottom of his mouth to just give that really strange, just what the hell is this feeling that I really, really enjoy in my animatronics. Like, if you know me, like Deathstalker, Nightcrawler, Boogeyman, those things are right up my alley. So, like, one of those things combined with a Scarecrow would be really cool. And this is one of the steps I'd take to make it a lot more of a just what the heck creature, In terms of lighting features, he'd have only one eye that would have like a yellow LED and it would light up. Yeah, not much more to say about that, I don't think. Now for the part that, I'll be honest, I always have fun with, the audio. Basically, it would be distant crow sounds, spooky ambience, that's a given, and howls. Which I know you're thinking, Enderode, howls? Like, not talking or screaming? No, howls. And, as I mentioned, my goal was to just make this a very strange, out there Scarecrow prop. And so, yeah, he howls. And the way I recorded them, I really wanted to give them the vibe of like something you'd hear caught on the wind would be mistakable for just the wind. So you'd be like, hey, this is weird. But at the same time, not be like, normal enough sounding to be like, I don't know. You get what I mean. But just something that you'd hear far off in the distance and think, uh-oh, I'm not alone in this cornfield, which is very much the vibe I was going for. There were howling sound effects online that I was going to use, but I found out you had to pay to use them. So instead of risking copyright, I just decided to make them myself. Hence why my throat hurts so much, because I exhaled to make these. That's a bit of a yap sesh, but whatever. That's why you watch me. So, yeah, here's Husky's audio. So, folks, there you have it. Husky in all his glory. Personally, not my favorite idea I've made so far, but I think it turned out pretty good. But the question is, do you think it turned out good? If you do, be sure to comment that down below. Tell me what you think. And I guess, like and subscribe if you're new. Or don't. I'm cool with that too. If you didn't enjoy the video, in which case I don't think you would have watched this far. But if you did, I thank you for watching. And I'll see you in the next one, shall I?